Well, hello. Here we are again, the mindfulness, whatever you say, the mindfulness volunteers for Columbia Correctional Institution. I'm Walt and my name is probably there, and I am with.
Well, I go by Ryusan, but Steven Spiro's up there on. This is my name tag. I'm wearing my name tag there, I guess.
Good. So this is our second video, so we're no longer total amateurs. I'm thinking about a professional career now in front of the camera as a result of this, not really.
Yeah, think real hard about that though, Walt.
Right. So here we are. This is our second time. Our group members, in normal times, we are each leading a mindfulness group through the chaplains. And again, thank you, Chaplain Peslick and Chaplain O'Boyle, for allowing this to happen, as well as our regular groups. But anyway, our group members and those who watched our previous video have some experience with meditating. But if you're tuning in for the first time or you didn't get around to trying it out, that's okay. That's okay. You can start afresh anytime. And we're going to do right now is just have a little introduction of a breath meditation just to settle us, to get our minds in the game. So I'm going to ring the bell 3 times. And we can, if you're sitting, kind of get in a position where you can breathe easily. You know, usually that means that your spine is pretty upright and your feet are on the floor. But you can be in any position that's good. The idea is that you're not going to fall asleep, although you may become relaxed. You want to be mentally alert while your body is relaxed. So begin by just listening to the bell. Maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable. Just come into the here and now, listen to the bell. Keeping your attention present right here, right now. You are sitting here breathing. Notice what it feels like to breathe. The physical sensation. Cool air coming in the nose. The breath going into the lungs expanding a little bit maybe. A little bit of motion in your belly. You're sitting here alive, breathing. You're not somewhere else. You're not in your thoughts somewhere. You're right here. Your body is sending you signals of what it feels like to be sitting here. If you're having trouble breathing through the nose and through the mouth, or if breathing isn't for you, then just focus on any other physical sensations that you're experiencing. If your mind is really jumping around and it's not in any one place, you don't have to worry about trying to control the mind. It'll be tough to do that. But just bring it back to the breath. You might even count your breaths if that helps to settle your mind. 1 on the in-breath, and then 2 on the next in-breath. You might be a little curious about your breathing. Is it starting to get a little slower as you calm down? Or maybe every once in a while there's a deeper inhalation. Just let it be whatever's natural. Notice that as soon as you think, okay, I'm just going to be natural, you suddenly are controlling every breath. And it's just one of those curiosities that happen. You don't have to breathe in any certain way. Expand your curiosity a little bit to other sensations. If you're sitting there in a little pain, notice the pain. Don't try to run away from it. But move on to other sensations that are more neutral. Temperature in the room, the way it feels with the gravity putting you onto your chair. Whatever your fingers are touching, can you notice what your fingers are touching? All of this is about keeping the mind as much as possible in the here and now. Expand your awareness from your breathing to maybe your shoulders. You feel some tension in your shoulders. Can you let your shoulders relax? What about your jaw? We carry a lot of tension in our jaw. It's not really necessary right now. Let your jaw just hang. Let go of the tension if you can. If you can't, that's okay. There's a difference between what we would like to do and what we're able to do, and just hang in there. Just be with what is. Moving from the jaw, there are dozens of tiny muscles around the cheeks and the eyes, the face. Let your face relax. Always using the breathing as a place to come back to if your mind, or not even if, when your mind darts off into some other zone or some other time. Just bring it right back. The way it feels to be sitting here breathing. When the mind is jumping around, you might just notice, is it always coming back to the same set of thoughts? Not to do anything about it, not to be carried away with those thoughts, but just to be aware. Oh, this is what the mind is doing right now. Or maybe it's not coming back always to the same thought. It's just totally random. Just a curiosity of the way the mind is operating. Just watch the mind the way you would watch your face muscles or your shoulders. And coming back to the breathing whenever you are. You know, it's okay to be carried away. It happens. If we're carried away for too long, then we want to be coming back to the breath. If you notice that you're getting a little bit more relaxed, a little more calm, enjoy and appreciate that. Don't get carried away into thought train about it, but notice how good it is to touch in your own inner peace. Now I'm going to ring the bell again to end in about 30 seconds. So make these last 30 seconds really mindful. Just be present right now. Don't even look ahead. Just be right here. Well, I hope that was a good, pleasant experience. Stephen, pleasant experience over there?
Yeah, thank you, Walt. Very nice.
Getting into this, the last time we kind of got into this idea that we can watch our thoughts, we can see our thoughts, we can see our emotions. Therefore, the thoughts and emotions are not us. And we're going to take that and follow the implications of that a little bit today, because that's a very important fundamental realization. And you might even have experienced that a little bit in your meditation, when you noticed that you were carried away with thoughts and then you came back. The moment when you noticed, oops, I'm thinking here, that moment, who was the person who noticed that you were thinking? It's obviously not the same thinking mind. It's another section of the mind. It's another, maybe deeper part of our consciousness. And we kind of build on that when we're talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness not only when we're sitting meditating, watching your mind that way, but mindfulness during the day. Mindfulness when we're in the heat of the moment. I think we've probably all experienced a situation where maybe our emotions are very fired up, but we see that we're getting angry, or we see that we're doing something. We're watching ourselves do it. Or maybe an instant later, we say, "Oh, why did I do that?" The person who did that, and then the person who's reflecting back on it, That first person who did it automatically, spontaneously, was a creature of habit. The person who's looking back and saying, why did I do that? That's more your own rational, controlling self. And with mindfulness, with this practice of mindfulness, we're developing a greater strength so that that mindful self is more on top of the automatic, habitual, conditioned self. So this is more, we're teaching this more than just as a method of having better self-control. There's much more important aspects to reflecting on this inner self. Because the more we, and people who have been meditating for a while will probably understand this very well, and others maybe just take it and see if it applies to you as you move forward through your life. And that is, the more you kind of reflect back on this inner self, this more calm self, the more you see that, hey, you know what? I'm okay. Maybe I'm better than okay. I'm better than what these people around me think I am. I'm better maybe than I normally treat myself. I often might beat up on myself and castigate myself for something I did. But deep down, almost all the time, you know what? I'm trying my best. I'm trying to do my best. I'm really deep down a good guy. Stephen, do you have anything that you would like to say on this theme?
Yeah, that's good. That's real good, Walt. You know, so we all get messages as we're growing up, particularly when we're children. We are born not knowing who we are or what's going on. And our ideas about who we are and what's going on are formed a lot by the people around us and what they say about us. So have you had the experience growing up of somebody who's an adult, someone who's bigger and stronger and supposedly wiser than you, telling you you're no good, telling you you're bad, that you're never going to amount to anything, that you're nothing but trouble, that whatever negative thing that they have laid on you, whether it be parents or family or friends or teachers or other people, those events, those memories all go into forming who we think we are. So many of us get pretty beat up emotionally, maybe physically too, but we get pretty beat up as children. And we have a sense that in some ways, we're just really not good. And that then has a way of forming our thoughts and our words and our actions. So one thing that mindfulness can do is, by getting very still and very quiet, we can touch into a part of our mind that hasn't really been affected by all of those negative self-images that we have been carrying around since we were born, since we were children. That there's a part of us, as Walt said, that's very deep and that's very wise and very loving and very beautiful. And that's as old as the breath. And that's as big as the stars in the sky. There's a part of us that we can touch into through meditation that is wise and that mostly is awake. And this isn't something that you have to sit in a cave for 40 years to try to get to. This is something that's part of us every moment, all the time. And so, as Walt said, for example, if something happens, someone says something to us, or we're in a situation and we start getting angry, if we reflect on that a little bit, from the point of view of our wisdom mind, we can see that that's happened before many times, and that we actually have a habit of getting angry if we feel insulted, attacked, or belittled, or for whatever reason. Maybe we're just annoyed, something comes up, and we're used to being angry, so we keep getting angry. This is just an example. This is a habit. And with mindfulness meditation, when we remember that anger, or when we experience it in meditation, we have a chance to just stop, take a breath or two, drop into our wisdom mind, and say, oh, look at that. That's anger. That's why my jaw is clenched and my heart's beating and my temperature's rising and my muscles are clenching. That's anger. And anger, like all other emotions, is impermanent. It's going to come and it's going to linger and it's going to go. And so the difference between acting out of anger, between being violent and being impulsive, being triggered, the difference between that and being still and calm is just that breath or two that gives us the opportunity to choose what we're going to say or what we're going to do next. When we're trapped in the prison of our habits, the prison that's been created by all these negative things that we think about ourselves and that people have told us that we are, when we're able to step out of that prison for a moment, we can change our reaction. We can let go of ways we don't want to be anymore, and we can move in the direction of freedom. This is called the path of freedom. This is what mindfulness is, and this is what we're hoping that you'll find in yourself and in your own life.
I'd like to emphasize this inner wisdom aspect. Our approach, or any approach to teaching mindfulness, has to rely on the person learning for themselves what's the best way for them to meditate, learning for themselves the best way to deal with their own situation and their own mind. And after all, who knows you better than yourself? Here, we're not even present. We're here in a video, so there's a limit to what we can give you. It's more or less what we can do is stimulate you so that you can go inside and learn from yourself. Just who is this person? What is my best self? What does my best self look like? And what are the ways in which I can move towards my best self, where I'm able to get a little handle on the habits. But we all have toxic habits. So how do I move a little bit? What's my first step? And what's stopping me where I'm most often not being my best self? And we can rely on that inner voice.
Yeah.
I have to interrupt this because I think we have another person in the screen here. Is there an animal behind you, Steve?
No, that's Jack. That's Jack. Jack is my meditation partner, and he knows how to sit. If I tell him to sit, he'll sit, and he's very good at it. So yeah, Jack will kind of come and go. Yeah. So one way to understand this that might be useful for you is to take a breath for a minute and imagine your mind as a territory Imagine it as a kingdom. It's got lots of space, and there's mountains and trees, and there's maybe a river, and maybe there are houses and buildings and people and animals. This is a kingdom. If you could imagine this, please, just for a moment. And in parts of this, in the deep woods and where it's dark, there's all kinds of memories in there. And there's all kinds of people in the kingdom, people in your life. And in the kingdom, there's a castle, as there is in every kingdom. And in the castle, there's a throne. And the throne is for the one who can see the kingdom and who's in charge of this part of this kingdom. Now, the kingdom goes out infinitely in all directions, but just this part that's nearby that we can see, somebody needs to sit in that chair. Somebody needs to sit in that throne and make sure that what's going on in the kingdom is what he wants to go on in the kingdom. That throne, that's the place for you. That's the place for your wisdom mind, for your mindfulness. And you can sit in that throne and you can see your mind and your body. You can see what's happened to you in the past. You can understand what's going on, and you can control what's happening now and in the future to some extent. We're going to call that mindfulness. So let's do a little practice now, just briefly, about taking the one seat. This is a very, very ancient practice. If that seat is empty, nobody's in charge, and anything can happen in any moment. But more likely, if you're not in that seat, somebody else is. Somebody who's a powerful force in your life, a parent, a friend, a family member, a teacher, somebody is going to be controlling your mind. And they don't belong there. You belong there. So let's just start by taking a breath. A deep breath. Let it go. And let the next one come in. The breath is the waves on the shore in your kingdom. You are sitting in a high place, maybe in a castle, maybe on a mountain, maybe on top of a hill, maybe on the roof of a building. You're sitting in a high place where you can see everything all around. Feel the seat that you're sitting in. Feel the body that's sitting in this seat. This is your rightful place. This seat has been there since you were born, waiting for you to step up and sit down and see where you are. This body is your body. This breath is your breath. This mind is your mind. And if some memory pops up from the deep woods of somebody telling you something that's wrong, You're the king. And you say, no, that's not who I am. And they disappear. Some memory comes up that haunts you. You say, this is not who I am now. Right now, I'm the one who is wise and kind, who sees the mind and the body, and who can direct where this kingdom is going and what's happening in it. Take a breath and sit with dignity. Sit as a king would sit. We've all made mistakes in the past, but this isn't the past. This is now. Just in this moment, the king is on his throne, and there's peace in the kingdom. The king can't control the weather. The king can't control what happens from outside the kingdom. But the king can control what happens to some degree within his own mind and heart and body. And this king is none other than you. Please take a few more breaths, and then we'll have the bell. Sometimes when we're not meditating, we're just moving through our lives, we forget. We forget that we're the king, that the wisdom is within us. And all we have to do to remember is to pause for a moment and take a breath or two and bring ourselves into the here and now so that we can choose wisely what we're going to do or say. And we become the king. What do you think, Walt? Do you think we need to have crowns?
It was very powerful. Thank you, Stephen. I'm wondering, we encourage people to meditate every day for a little bit, and even keep track of it so that you can kind of see how you're doing. I'm wondering, would you recommend that we do a little bit of that pausing, as you mentioned, during the day and kind of just reflect?
Yeah. Well, yeah, meditation happens when we intend for it to, when we sit and ring the bell and so on, and that's our daily practice. And it happens frequently when we want it to during the day, moment to moment. Whenever we stop, take a breath, and bring back the wisdom mind, that's meditation. Maybe it was 5 seconds, but it fundamentally changes what happens next, and it gives us freedom.
Freedom is good. Freedom of the mind. Freedom of the mind. So I guess the question, the follow-up is that we want to do this intentionally a little bit, right? If we're not doing it by habit yet, then we kind of have to maybe have some reminders in our life to hey, don't forget to try this out, practice this during the day.
Yeah, yeah. I want to mention too. I know this is a little different, but I know that many of you who are watching us have friends and family that may be suffering from this virus, and you're probably worrying about them, maybe about yourself, but also about them. Maybe some of them have gotten sick. Maybe some people you know have even died from it. These practices that Walt and I are giving you are not a way to escape from hard things, but a way to find a place where you can be solid, where you can be like a mountain in the storm, not only for yourself, but for those other people who are being tossed about by all this difficulty. So please, whenever you think of your loved ones who may be suffering or afraid, that is a good time to stop and take a breath for them and for you, so that you can be that strong, wise person in the midst of all this hardship.
Well said. And that image of the king on his throne, and when you mentioned the king can't make the rain stop, but the king certainly can take the rain into account and not try to deny that it's there.
Put on a raincoat maybe, or
Face
bring
up to what
somebody in.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Face up to what is.
So we can't change the world, but we can change our own minds.
Right. So thanks for listening. Anyone who's still listening, thanks for sticking with us. We're hoping that this can contribute to your being strong, that this can contribute to you being your best person for finding your truth. And we'll look forward to some time when we can actually talk to you in person. But in the meantime, we'll be back. This is hopefully not our last time to be talking with you.
We'll see you virtually soon. And as Walt said, looking forward to see you again. Take care of yourself. Have a good day.